So greetings everyone, and in the last session today we will continue, Dr. Vladimir will continue his search for an integral paradigm for knowledge, also look at the faculties of consciousness in Shurbinder Symmetry. So over to you, Vladimir. Very much looking forward to the session.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, James. And today is the last session, though these three last sessions had to be dedicated to the faculties. But we got stuck with the Gita and Tantra, which is good because it gives us the real background to what we want to do with the faculties. First of all, let me project then the PowerPoint. Oops, that would be easier for everyone. So first of all, I wanted to talk about different types of integrality. Of course, I just listed few thoughts here, which may be confusing immediately, but what is really integral? Yeah? What is being integrated? What is being united? What is yoga? Yoga is integration in a way. Yes, something is connected with something else which is to be connected. But for some reason, it isn't in our consciousness. So once it is connected, once everything is united, all the bits and pieces of our consciousness are working together, that is integration. So we do not know ourselves. We think about ourselves in bits and pieces. That I am this, I am the scholar, I am the worker, I am the engineer. So we are thinking in those terms. But there are many dharmas which we have to fulfill in this life. I have to be a father, a brother, a son, and so on, a citizen, and it is, the list is open. A lover, a good person, a bad person, and so on. So there is the whole world of things which I am identified with. So how could I integrate myself in such a way that to be always an integral part of the world? And the world is not only outside, the world also is within and transcendental. So there are several integrations known to us from Indian literature, and here I listed some of them. And that is, for example, Mandukya Upanishads speak about integration of the wakened state, the sleep state without dreams, and transcendental Turiya consciousness. If these 3 or 4 are united, we are in the consciousness which is integrated or one. There is another way of looking at integration. Taittiriya speaks about 5 different koshas. Taittiriya doesn't speak about koshas, but about purushas or atmas. There are 5 atmas, 5 selves. Annamayam atma, pranamayam atma, manomayam atma, and vijnanamayam atma, and anandamayam atma. Yeah. And these atmas, atmanas, they have to be united. And by the way, at the end of the Taittiriya, he speaks about it, yes. So, Annamayam upasamgamya. So every level by level, he joins together and he becomes one. So from the physical to the vital, holding physical at the same, to the mental, to the supramental, and to the transcendental, and he becomes one. This is an integration of levels of consciousness into one being. This is the ideal which we all are looking for. So it's kind of evolution of consciousness which grows onto the level of supermind and beyond, and integrating them with the physical reality. There's another look through different epistemologies. Adhibhuta, when consciousness is turned outside, Adhidaiva, when it is dealing with the inner matters, thinking, feelings, and so on. And finally, when they are turned within, become silent and perceptive of the inner self. So this is another language of integration. There is an ancient language of Brahmanas. Agni, Vayu, and Surya are to be united, or earth, space, and heaven. So heaven and earth are separated. It's the most ancient Indo-European myth, and they originally are one, but they got separated. So our mental and physical reality, consciousness, is separated by the consciousness of the vitality of life, and being correlated, so to say, this correlation of life between our mind and physical reality. So this is the most ancient vision of the integrality. And Sri Aurobindo uses this in his Savitri also, where he says that heaven and earth equal and one. So this is the ideal, when we can become one, and the whole idea of the sacrifice is union of Agni, Vayu, and Surya. These are three fires, three flames, three levels of consciousness, three divinities within us, which have to be united. Once they are united, we become yuktas, we become yogis. The Gita speaks about three, as you know, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, and jnana yoga, representing our will, heart, and mind, and they have to be united. Then we become yuktas. There is another view on our unity, integrality, is in Purusha Sukta, and these are the four different varnas. Brahmanas, our speech and mind, higher part. Kshatriyas, our force and power. Vaishyas, our exchange of delight and reproduction. And Shudra, our service, our legs. So the whole body has to become one and work as one being. Not that the mind thinks one thing, the hands do the other, and legs carry us away somewhere into the different direction. They have to work together. This integrality of the parts of our need of the soul, of soul development. By the way, these four will be also reflected in the four Mahashaktis, yes, of Maheshwari, Mahakali, Mahalakshmi, and Mahasaraswati. These are the four powers of the soul. There is a need in soul development. Soul has to develop the part of knowledge. In the knowledge, as Sri Aurobindo says, that we have to be like Brahmana. In the power, we have to be like royal kings, kshatriyas. In the exchange of delight and generation of creativity, we have to be like Vaishyas. And in service, divine Shudras. So these are divine qualities which we all have to embody, and we have to become Chaturvarnya. Not to be only Brahmin, not only to be a man of knowledge or man of power or man of service or man of... We need to be holistically every bit and piece of this. We have to unite these four varnas within one being, as it was united within universal Purusha. Universal Purusha holds four of these. An individual somehow, for some reason, becomes Brahmin only or Kshatriya only. So in the social setting. So in the Gita, we didn't touch upon this, but the first question in the first chapter was from Arjuna, why do you mix varnas to Krishna? When you mix varnas, jatis in that case, he speaks about jatis, then we would not know who is who when we are born. So in the family of Brahmins, There could be Shudra born, or in the family of Shudras, Brahmin born. If you mix jatis, then we would not know the order, the social order, who is who. That was the objection of Arjuna to Krishna. And Krishna answers interestingly. He says, now everyone in his heart will be able to find the Supreme. That's why he mixes Varnas. He mixed Varnas that we have to have a totally different orientation for integration of these qualities. Yeah? This is a very important message for India especially. It's less for the West, because in the West everybody is Chaturvarnya in one way or another. You have to take care of your house, of your car. You have to learn all possible, realities. But in India, it is still dominating this thinking, because it's very ancient, of Varnik society. Maybe not so much in the urban kind of places, not in the cities, but in the villages and in general, it is still there. When the marriage comes, it becomes important. What Varna you belong, what Varna your suitor belongs. So all that is totally outdated from the time of mixing Varnas by Krishna, from the time of Kurukshetra battle. And you know that Kurukshetra that battle became the beginning of Kali Yuga. So Kali Yuga mixes all the Varnas for one reason, that we become Chaturvarnya. We cannot be only servant or only Brahmin. We must find all the qualities of the soul within ourselves and integrate them around our innermost being, around psychic being. These are the qualities of psychic being, of knowledge, power, delight, and service, perfection. Four Mahashaktis have to be integrated. Then the psychic being can come to the front. Otherwise, it cannot. You will be only partially developed. So you see another integration, another view on integration. Sri Aurobindo speaks about individual, universal, and transcendental Purushas. Also, the Gita speaks about Kshara, Akshara, and Purushottama, very similar ideas. So we as individual have to become universal and transcendental. It's another language of integration. And the last one I will be speaking today is the faculties of consciousness have to be integrated around the psychic center. That is the word and mind, seeing and hearing, breathing in and out. That means feeling and being in the body. So these are there. Annam, pranam, chakshuk, shrotram, mano, vacham. It is 6 major faculties determined in the Upanishads, in the Taittiriya, and every Upanishad. You will find them in actually every Upanishad, except maybe few, such as Isha is not mentioning them, and Mandukya. The rest are speaking about these faculties. And there is a reason for it, because consciousness functions through these faculties. So how they can be integrated? They can be integrated hierarchically. That means on the physical, vital, mental, supramental, and transcendental level. So we include this vision of Taittiriya. But all of them among themselves, they have to work in harmony. That means our mind and word faculty has to work in harmony. Yes, there is a whole Shantipatha of Rigvediya Shantipatha. Vang me manasi pratishthitam, mano me vachi pratishthitam. My speech is established in my mind is established in my speech. This is the integration. Yes. So what I speak, I think, and what I think, I speak. This is a big integration. You can see how we are disintegrated already. We hardly, rarely, let us say, speak what we think, because we can't. Yeah? There are so many realities around us which determine our way of speaking. We have to take into account the person, his and her yeah, realities and character and expectations and so on and so forth, and we adjust constantly, and we think differently than we say. We say one thing and think another. This integration would be a great breakthrough regarding seeing and hearing. Comprehensive and apprehensive cognition is another profound integration. And what we feel and what we do, or our creativity within and our life without, so to say, is also another great integration. And all of them have to be understood, recognized as such. We have to be trained to recognize their realities, because these are the faculties of consciousness. So there is no abstract consciousness. Consciousness acts through these faculties. Consciousness is represented by them, because these are the faculties of the Purusha, of the universal Purusha. So to get to Purusha, we need to use these faculties. So if we say, I have to calm my mind, so you deal with mind. Yeah? Then you say, I want to master my speech and speak only what is necessary, what is true. It's the speech faculty. Yeah? And so on. So each one, or I want to see disinterestedly everything as things are and not kind of making something up, or I want to comprehend things deeply to the very truth of things. So I have time, I will really dig to the bottom of things. So all these things, I'm just touching the surface, scratching the surface, preparing us for some other slides which will explain many more things. So here I will have to be brief today, because I will have to lead you through many slides and many ideas. This is the first slide: subjective objective approach to the consciousness through these major secret operations behind which there are faculties. So the subjective self-knowledge will be understood within the system as a unique inbringing of the image of things and identifying with that through the samjnana faculty. Samjnana faculty is the faculty of consciousness. Notice samjna, conscious. The same idea is put into this. To con is some, actually, in Latin, yes? To put together, to know together. That means I take the image and I know it as myself. I sense it, I feel it within myself. I cannot feel it without myself. Yeah? I must feel it only within. So this is the faculty of manas. Interestingly, I send you the link to the supramental sense, where Sri Aurobindo explains this, that there is only one sense, and that is this, the manas. The mind is the sense. There is no other sense. There is no other mind. And there's something interesting about it. So this identifying is self-knowledge subjective, as it were, is this manas. Subjective self-knowledge. So I identify the object with myself and know it through myself as such, as I know it, and not as such, as I know it. As such will be objective self-knowledge. So I go to the image of things to know it as such, not as I know it, not as I feel it, but as it is. Yeah, I start to analyze it, to kind of deal with it objectively. dissect it, look at the parts, how they work, yeah, not as I feel the thing. So these two, this is the vision. The vision is always dissecting, drishti from dri, to tear apart, to separate, to distinguish, to discern, notice, discern, distinguish, always this. This is because seeing and discernment is actually, drishti is of the same idea. Idea is to distinguish one part from the other as such, not as I feel it. So, and then these are two self-knowledges. One self-knowledge apprehensive, both are apprehensive because they are dealing with the image of things, which is being identified with myself first and knowing through myself, and second is going to this image and knowing it as such, and that is vision. Then there is a relational knowledge. So I have to relate to the world. And that is, the first is ajnana, subjective spirit or relation knowledge, comprehensive, because I act upon the world in my own subjective way, as I find it fit, as I want. And that is the word, communication, action, or subjective self-expression. And there is also the objective comprehensive spirit knowledge or relation knowledge, and that is vijnana or hearing. When it's a pure comprehensive knowledge where I relate all the vibrations and what is happening in time and space between the selves. So the first level is about the self, the being. The second is about the action of the self upon the other selves. Oh, yeah. I know this is a little bit a full plate of things to think, but if you start thinking about this later, maybe, or review this presentation, or there are many more presentations I gave on this, and we can even make the whole file of them, and I will direct you there if you are interested to know more why it is so. So if we analyze consciousness, how it works, it will be this: about oneself, relations with the object of sense, and about what I can do upon this object, yeah? And what this object can do to me and other objects. And this is the hearing or vijnana. And there is one more level. The last level of these 6 major faculties is manifestation knowledge. So the spirit on 4 legs, this is spirit on 4 legs, Brahman, is manifested as prana, as life force. Spirit is life force. Life force is the most mysterious thing ever. We do not know what life is, why we are breathing, why we are living. What is this living? We can understand what mind is, what body is, we can dissect, but what can you do with life? Really, it's fluid, it lives, and we don't know what it is, really. Nobody knows, nobody can define life, but it is there, that energy which charges the matter, and matter starts moving, reproducing itself, wanting, living, eating each other. So what is this? So this prana is the embodiment of the spirit within the matter. So once the prana is there, it charges the matter with life. So matter starts living. And this is manifestation knowledge. So subjective is prana. We identify it with feelings, or those creative emotions, feelings, sensations, all that pranic domain, which is charging our physical, our vital, and our mental reality. By the way, it is charging all 3. And also, because of that, it is manifested in the outer form as a living creature. Objective manifestation knowledge. So we have 3 different approaches. Self-knowledge, relational knowledge, or spirit knowledge, self and spirit, these two major categories, which Sri Aurobindo refers constantly in his writings, in the Life Divine, in the Synthesis. He will never say only spirit or only self. Yeah, he will say self and spirit for some reason. So they are somehow complementary and necessary. Self is like number one, and spirit is like number zero. Yeah? But that zero is a potentiality of relation of one to anything or anyone. And manifestation is all possible numbers and relations, of the zero and one, or one and zero. Now, yes, this is another kind of, I just changed the same slide: thinking, seeing, speaking, hearing, feeling, and touch. These are three major accesses to reality. One is seeing, other is hearing, and third is touch. These are the only three actually recognized today, nowadays, and from the ancient times, possible accesses to reality. We can access reality through seeing, through comprehending hearing, and through touch. There is no other access. There is no other way of learning about reality. Interesting, yeah? Only three, no more. Now, what I was thinking, what I discovered for myself, I was thinking about the humanities and the humanitarian subjects. And so I was thinking, why there is philosophy, psychology, um, linguistics, you know where I'm leading already, sociology and history. Why these subjects? Where are they coming from? Why not some other subjects? Why this? And then I understood they are related to the faculties. Faculties determine the appearance of the domains. How else? Yeah. If we have these set of faculties, then the domains will be determined in a particular way, and a particular methodology, a particular approach. So what would be, according to you, subjective self-knowledge among these humanitarian subjects, disciplines? It's just interesting discussion. Subjective self-knowledge. And well, I will show you the next slide if you don't want to think, and maybe of the lack of time. According to me, it is psychology. This is the major subject. Subjective self-knowledge, how I know myself, how I understand myself. This is major thing. So what would be then objective self-knowledge?
Philosophy?
Huh?
Philosophy?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. It's philosophy. And you notice that all philosophical treatises, so those of you who studied Hegel, Kant, whoever, just take any Western or Eastern philosopher, they will start with premises of psychology. So they perceive things in this way, and then they look for that knowledge or that truth in the world. So they apply it objectively and see whether it works or not there. I see it as such, yeah. I have this kind of revelation. For example, Descartes had a revelation of the psychological kind when there was a war and he was sitting in the dark room and there was such a disaster, everything was destroyed, killed, and he sits with closed eyes in the dark room, and then he sees that he thinks. Thoughts are coming. And he tells himself, I think, therefore I exist. You see, it is in a totally different context than we understand it now. Yeah. So if you take that as a psychological experience, which gives him so much for the philosophy later, the whole philosophy was developed on that insight of psychological, or Kant, for example, with his thing in itself. It's actually a revelation of some kind, psychological, yes? And then he traces it back and builds the whole philosophy around it. So the philosophy is, here we come, philosophical approach. We will speak not about domains, but approaches to knowledge, which is important. The difference is big. It's not the domain. We are not studying philosophy. We are studying the philosophical approach to knowledge, psychological approach to knowledge. So subjective self-knowledge is psychological, objective self-knowledge, to know as mosaics of all things, as things are in the world, how they are, building one big self, is objective self-knowledge of philosophy, of vision. Many times you hear in the business environment, what is the vision of your company, or what is the philosophy of your company? Why do they want to know? Because the philosophy tells them how they see the world. How do you see the world? Tell me, and then I know whether I can work with you or not. Yeah? Maybe you see the world differently. Yeah? So this is interesting. So this is about self, about something which is already there, embodied, has being. Now, it is next one, relation knowledge, is not about the being, about the action of the being. Yeah? The word is a self-expression. Subjective self-expression is the word, linguistic approach, language. Not language so much, speech, word. I put linguistic approach because there is no better word for this. But actually it's a word with capital W. Now, when I express myself, I speak to myself, to my surface self, or to others, I communicate something from within to without, yes? And this communication takes place. Even now, when I'm speaking this, I'm listening carefully to what I say. So I don't speak only to you, I speak also to myself. So something inner speaks to something outer within me. And this is the bridge which I'm making through the word. The word is that bridge which comes from within to without, from the inner consciousness to the outer surface, mental consciousness. And when the mind understands, because it is built within the language which mind understands, then the message is clear. We spoke about this message. Without the intention has to be understood. So the intention is created through language. But language is already belonging to sociological settlement. So everybody understands the language. That's why we can communicate the intentions. Yeah? So sociological and historical, it's two different approaches within one. One is on the scale of space, sociological, as synchronic, and the other is diachronic approach, yeah, on the scale of time. How things are meaningfully related on the scale of space, how all the bits and pieces relate and interact with each other, the building social system, and how they relate on the scale of time, historical approach, how they evolve, develop, influence each other. Meaningful relations. Meaning is derived from these relations and self-expressions. Meaning cannot be derived from self-knowledge, only from what that self can do. We cannot know self without what it can do. What it does or wants, from that we derive meanings. So all the meanings are derived from this comprehensive. This is the comprehensive approach. This is apprehensive. That's important to see. Yes? Here, apprehensive, comprehensive streams. And finally, manifestation knowledge. In subjective sense, it will be artistic approach, art in every form. We charge any creation with the life force, and like an artist creating music, creating pictures, creating whatever, yeah, sculptures, engineers creating their own thing. They're charging it with a vital force, creating a being which can live by itself, like a art creation. Yeah, so you make a piece, art piece, and it lives afterwards without you. So you are a producer. Yeah? You produce a new living entity which will live beyond you. So this is manifestation subjective knowledge. You are a parent of this creation. Yeah? You bring to birth a new being, as it were. Charge it with life force, like the God in the Bible was, taking this clay, Adam, and charging him with prana. Yeah? And he got prana into him and start living and being independent from God. And then once it is done, you have the manifestation, objective manifestation knowledge, which is scientific approach, studying nature as such, all the laws of nature, all the what is happening, chemistry, biology, physics, yeah, astronomy, how things exist by themselves, in themselves. Now, you see, from the most subjective self-knowledge to the most objective manifestation knowledge, covered all the levels of the action of consciousness. If you have a glimpse of it, you would understand why these 6 were chosen by the Upanishads and not more. Not all. Where is here taste and smell? Not taste and smell here. They are secondary. They are later. They are important, but not in this case. Yeah? I know. Now, something interesting about this, if we start analyzing these approaches and domains, this is what I arrived at. This is the scheme, and I will stop here for the questions. So there is a domain and approach. Yes, approach tells us that I am not, I am seeking the truth in this particular psychological way, or in philosophical way, or in linguistic way. So there are different streams of consciousness within myself, so to say, which I distinguish as different, and I master them as different, and then I combine them together. Now, what is interesting, so I can be psychologically approaching psychology as a domain. I can approach the philosophy as a domain, so psychology of philosophy, psychology of language. I can approach language psychologically and study language from the psychological point of view. That is psychology of language. Psychology of history, I can study history from psychological point of view. Yeah. I can study art, psychology of art from psychological point of view, and psychology of science. The same with philosophy. I can study philosophy of psychology, philosophy of language, philosophy of history, philosophy of art, philosophy of science, which is, if you Google these subjects, which I wrote here, all of them, you will be surprised how many hits you will have. These are the subjects studied in the university, but they are not studied in this complex view on the faculties. We don't see them as complementary to the studies of ourselves. So what I'm here shifting, I'm shifting away from studies of the subjects to the studies of oneself and the faculties of consciousness, and these domains become the ground or the means for self-learning. This is the shift. I am not studying philosophy. I'm studying how to be a philosopher. So for me to be a philosopher or to be a psychologist, I have to be able to overview psychologically all of these major domains. Yeah? I have to sense and to understand how psychology works within art domain, within science, within history, sociology, psychology of social development. That is a beautiful work of Sri Aurobindo, yeah, the human cycle. By the way, I wanted to say that Sri Aurobindo did a great contribution in this way, because we can take his books and study these approaches to knowledge. For example, psychology of social development is perfect for sociological approach to knowledge. Yeah? Perfect. He is perfectly following. He is not mixing it with philosophy. He is not mixing it with yoga. He's holding onto this psychological approach to sociology. And by the way, the same ideal of human unity, we started to do this with group of people to study these approaches through Sri Aurobindo's books. His synthesis of yoga is purely psychological. His life divine is purely philosophical approach. And this is amazing, yeah, because he will project into every domain that philosophical approach. And he will project in every domain in synthesis his psychological approach. So if you take that, or the foundations of Indian culture, there will be artistic approach. He's also working out that so beautifully there, the Renaissance in India. Or you take his future poetry and you will see how the word is to bring the higher levels of consciousness and so on. So that would be linguistic approach, yes. And so in this sense, only science, I'm not sure, I didn't see it somewhere in the separate work. He in the end letters he speaks about science, but not as a separate work. So this is the idea to view the faculties connected to the approaches and domains. Yes, Nilima. Yes, please unmute yourself and talk.
Vladimir, it's very difficult to get. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
So yeah, this is. I've seen some of these videos before, but it's still very difficult because it's a very inside-out way of looking at things, and it's. I'm still trying to grasp it, but I just want to say. I mean, it's only now that in early childhood education that we look at not feeding information to children and just allowing them to all this. It just makes it very clear that in that sense, then education like we know it right now is only information.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't teach them approaches, because approach is actually a first-person inquiry method. So you need to engage. Yeah, it's not the third person. You don't study the information. You don't study the domain of history. History is only the means for you to study the historical approach. Yeah, you will have to find what it really means. Yeah, to historically view the world. And once you have it, once you form it within yourself, you can apply it to any domain and see the developmental paradigm. You can figure out yourself. You don't need to know the information from elsewhere. You can really find the truth by yourself. Yeah? I know it is much to claim, but I'm sure this is the future of the humanities and the whole approach to knowledge. I'm sure about this, 100%. Yeah, that in the future this would be the holistic approach to all the humanities, because the humanities are the subjects and domains which are the result of the application of our faculties of consciousness. Yeah? So in order to be holistically developed, we need all of them to be purely kind of educated within ourselves, understand them subjectively, how they work, and start applying them. And then there is one interesting thing about this, that when we speak to each other, then the arguments and misunderstandings are always coming from misunderstanding of approach. Yeah, somebody speaks from philosophical point of view, others are immediately arguing from psychological or sociological, and they are like this, they are not even touching the ground. So if I understand from what point of view you are talking, I can tune and speak your language, yeah? If I can, if I understand. But if I don't, and these are limited approaches, by the way. You see, there are only, how many are there? Of course, you can enlarge the scheme, what I was already doing, because I wanted to see how far it can go, like language of philosophy of art, yeah? So, or language of philosophy of history. This is possible, but it doesn't change the approach. So you will have a linguistic approach to the philosophy of art. Doesn't matter, domain will change, but the linguistic approach will stay. So you can enlarge, you can have more subjects. You can have kind of infinite number of subjects, but approaches will be limited. This is interesting. You cannot enlarge the approach because we are limited in faculties which are perceiving the reality. This is the message. Now here I have this something which explains this better, and with this I will stop. Psychology deals with our subjective processes of thinking and self-evaluation. Everybody has to have some kind of psychology, yeah? Understanding. Philosophy deals with our mental ability to overview and to conceptualize. Linguistics deal with our faculty of speech as a device of for communication and self-expression. Sociology and history deal with the relationship as such, how individual and collective relate to one another on the scale of space sociology, on the scale of time history. Art and culture deal with the refinement of our feelings and senses with respect to manifested world. Science deals with matter as such, the physical existence in objective way. Now, something I want to read to you, that why these approaches are so important for us as human beings. Philosophical approach to knowledge. Everyone has to have some metaphysical picture of the world. Is it not so? Some understanding, some how things are, as a system of mental views and beliefs, a metaphysical paradigm, as it were. It includes a hidden hierarchy of understanding of what is first and what is next, what is important and what is less important, and how it constitutes one reality, some idea, which we get from our parents, from our folklore, from our stories, fairy tales, without which reality cannot be approached in a rational manner. We have to have some metaphysical understanding, view on the world. It can be deficient, it can be very wrong, but it must be there as a system. Otherwise, we cannot function rationally. Psychological approach to knowledge. Everyone has to have to know oneself to a certain extent. That's quite obvious. To have a certain personal attitude towards the world. This knowledge of oneself is not in full accordance with one's own metaphysical paradigm. They can be in total difference. Yeah, I feel this way, but they imposed on me the understanding of the world in that way. This is a constant ongoing interaction between the two, which correlates, corrects, and even changes the mental picture of the world, and vice versa. Without it, the reality cannot be approached in a truthful sincere manner. If I am not related to what I preach, that doesn't work. Yeah? I have to match inwardly with what I see outwardly as one vision of the world. This match is important, and the mismatch is quite obvious. Oops. I jumped somewhere. Maybe I should go to some conclusive remarks already. Philological approach. Why I'm reading in one go, I want you to pile up, to collect all these bits and pieces. First, overview of the world. Some overview must be there. There must be some understanding of oneself in relation to that view of the world. Now, philological approach, or that linguistic. Everyone has to use some language, outwardly or inwardly, to become conscious of our speech as an expression of oneself, and language as a system of mental categories by which we think. To know how they function is indispensable for building a metaphysical picture, first of all, and understanding ourselves psychologically. Through language we do this. How our thoughts and feelings relate to our speech faculty and how it influences them. Without it, no serious research is possible in any field, and the reality cannot be dealt with in a correct, precise manner. We will be very approximate if we are not, do not have the means of self-expression. And you notice people who have a very good language skills, they have also better way of thinking. Though it is not always so, many times it is not, but still this skills of self-expression is so important if you want to deepen the self-understanding and the understanding of the world, because only then you can manifest it to your surface consciousness. It is the power of manifestation, the word, the power of self-expression. Sociological approach. One has to know one's roots, history, religion, social and national heredity. What state one belongs to, what nation, what community, etc. To know one's own past in order to understand one's present and future. This knowledge is wider than our individual psychological or even philosophical paradigm. It introduces knowledge about relations in time and space beyond our reach. It draws our consciousness to a larger reality of community, country, earth, and finally to the universal and cosmic existence. It brings the aspect of the spirit into picture, a larger reality inside and outside ourselves. It indicates a unifying phenomenon of space and time in which we all live. Without this knowledge, man will not be able to understand or comprehend fully the growth and the purpose of his life on an evolutionary scale, in the dynamic sense. This is Vijnana, that very Vijnana, where everything meaningfully related on the scale of time and space. And finally, two more. Artistic approach, why it is so important for our consciousness to function. It is a refinement of all our activities in life, in its aspect of beauty, harmony, and perfection. It is what the spirit has already manifested, conquered, so to say, in life as a result of a long period of evolution. It is what makes us cultured. It is the aim of creation, and it is its path also. It's the way to be cultured, and there's the aim. To develop ourselves fully individually and collectively, we have to learn to manifest beauty and harmony of the spirit, to seek after it, to embody it, to manifest it. This is the artistic, the beauty in every action, the beauty in thoughts, in beauty in feelings, the beauty in actions. scientific approach, the knowledge of matter is indispensable for the understanding of manifestation. All the changes, philosophical, psychological, philological, social, cultural, are possible only in matter. Matter is the foundation and the embodiment of any change. It is fixing everything to a certain stability so that another change can take place. So it's like without this stability, no progress is possible. So something has to be fixed in order to be changed. Yeah? How else will you change anything if it is not fixed from before? If matter would not be able to fix it, the next step would not have meaning, for it would have no ground to manifest a new change. So, some conclusive remarks. I will not do. You already heard so many conclusive remarks. I don't want to overload you with reading. It's already too much reading. So this is it. What I must say in relation to what we studied from the Gita, from the Tantra, Veda and Upanishads, that the faculties are the activities of consciousness. And when we study consciousness and study in the manifested way, these faculties are crucial. It is through them that consciousness reveals itself and the world becomes meaningful. So we need to train them. It's the technology of consciousness. Let us say the word technology of consciousness is within the faculties. Okay, I stop now. I already overloaded you in every way, I guess. Sorry if it was too much. Because Shailendraji, you're here. So nice to see you.
Yeah, wonderful. I thought I must catch the final lecture, even if I could not catch all the others.
Right. We tried to speak about this in our university the other day, I remember.
Yes.
Yeah. I still believe that this would be the proper application of the ancient knowledge in the new fashion, so to say, to the humanities, to our self-development. So it's not enough to be only psychologist or philosopher. You have to be also an artist and a linguist, a scientist, because to be only one is very deficient, as we see it already. Yes. That's why we have all the disciplines going their own way. Psychologists do not understand philosophers, and linguists have nothing to do with scientists. And that is something really a need of an hour to bring them back to one being, to a human being, to make those a means for our self-development and self-knowledge.
Vladimir, I have many, many questions for you, but I'll save them for the last. I think there are many ladies here I see on the screen. I think they should probably go first in terms of questions. James, what do you suggest?
Yeah, you're muted, James.
Yes, we'll go along with that, Shailendra. Sure.
Vladimir,
Yes.
I'm just speechless after hearing what you have to say today. I think I won't be able to sleep tonight. I teach at a management college, and I was wondering, my God, the entire paradigm has to completely shift in what we are teaching to the students. And just looking at this is, where do we start? I think you need to take us, all educators, through a session, in fact.
Right. There is another presentation which I have, but I don't have time for this, to show what we have to do, what is applied, how to apply this knowledge, what is the class on the mind, what we have to learn about the mind and faculties of the mind, how we have to learn about the speech, the class on the word. Yeah. What are the disciplines? What are the subjects? What are the applications? So each one of these has a huge domain to study. Yes. So I even envisioning in the future that there will be a different kind of university. This is a universal university approach, to create a universal being, integral in every way, who can enter into any domain and study in whatever approach, not only psychological, historical, or so on. He can shift between the approaches, combine them as he wills, but he understands the process. He's not bewildered by data. Data for him is only a ground, a field for studies. He's constantly applying his own consciousness to view that data, for himself, to understand it better in relation to himself. So this is the combination of the first person inquiry and the third into one. So it's not, knowledge is not something separate from you. Knowledge is a part of you. It helps you to understand yourself, which was the purpose of knowledge in general. Well, yeah, I know this. This is an overload to some degree, but truly speaking, I don't see other way than this, going to the first person inquiry method. It has to become more and more subjective. As Shubhendu says, we are entering into subjective age, and it is the need of the hour for all of us. We don't want to learn something separately from us. We want that knowledge to be part of ourselves. I'm already repeating myself. Sorry. Going round and round in the same circle, cannot get out. There's nowhere to go anymore.
Vladimir,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to keep my video off because I have low bandwidth, but just come. So the more I listen to this, I keep coming back to working with children because that's what I'm doing currently more. And I keep wondering that in this approach, how it would impact, because currently in early childhood or with children, the whole idea is the brain development. I mean, you're doing things with them, you're offering activities which are so focused on which part of the brain is developed. And most of our understanding we have is from educational psychology or research, neurosciences, which says at this age, this part of the brain is developing. And so we are approaching whole of early childhood education from that approach, offering more languages to children, get them to speak, expose them to more than one language till the age of 4. I was just wondering, when we approach early childhood from what you've just spoken, it's how it's going to impact even brain development. It's going to be a very different. I mean, currently we actually base all our work on our understanding of the brain development. But what you're talking about is actually working on something else which will impact brain development in itself. I mean,
I have truly speaking, we have to deconstruct these ideas about the faculties. Yes, we think about language as language skills, like we study one language. The speech faculty is not really about language. It's about the means of self-expression, how you express yourself. And it can be many languages, not only verbal. Yeah, one has to change one's view on these fundamental approaches to knowledge. Yes, for me, the word is the power of self-expression. If the child can express itself through the gesture or through the look or through the move, it's a language. Yes, it's a particular speech. So it doesn't have to write letters, and that is the language skills. It's not the language skills. So the whole idea is a bit wrongly taken. So let me just give you very quick what I prepared for the second half overview of the development of these faculties. So I just go one by one, thinking So what are the major powers which we have to develop for thinking? First of all, power of concentration. If we deal with this, this is the major power for the mind. Yeah? It is, mind is built on it. Yeah? The whole mind is bringing to the focus any object of sense and focusing on it, and in bringing it, silencing the mind, absolutely necessary for concentration. Brainwave activity control, very interesting new devices. I tried them out. How to shift from alpha waves. It can be with science, very interesting approach. Thought management by willpower, yes. This is, we have to read from the letters of yoga. Thinking framework, rational, logical, dialectical, analytic, synthetic, and so on. You see the whole list of them, will not read. We have to understand the difference between them, between rational, logical, dialectical, analytic, synthetic, pragmatic, strategic, tactic, all these holistic, divergent, convergent, symbolic, creative, intuitive. So their mind is a huge number of things. And by the way, Gebser deals with this beautifully. He explains how paradoxical thinking works. If we learn about this, about how our mind, how we can shift from one modality of action of the mind to the other, we will be very well equipped. You know? Well, it's not from the kindergarten, but later. You know? Memory development, visual, and so on. Motor skills, and widening the mental consciousness as a way to improve the capacity of memory. Mother speaks about this. You don't need to develop the mental memory, you have to widen the consciousness. Interesting, yeah? The vaster consciousness is, the more capacity of memory you have. It's not that you have to remember something, fix it there in the mind. Speed of thinking, also interesting. Syntactic semantics, archetypal thinking, receptivity, flexibility, plasticity of the mind, psychological approach to knowledge in general, what it means to learn anything in terms of what is happening psychologically there. So what is the real change within the being? Kind of disciplines, yoga, discipline of concentration, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi of the Yoga Sutras. Meditation, very good, widening, heightening, deepening movement of consciousness, mindfulness, vipassana, guided meditation. All of these are the means which can be used here and there for different schools. This is only for the mind I'm speaking, yes. Mathematics, Vedic mathematics, very good. Chess, mind games, different mind games. There are so many of them. There's the whole range of mind games. I'm collecting them on the internet. Yeah? So I will stop here because I don't want to overload you with all this. But I give you this PowerPoint, and so you will see it for yourself. Yes, what is being suggested here for the development of these faculties and what kind of disciplines we can build around. If I take only one word, the speaking faculty, you see Jupiter is here for the speaking, and recognition of intention and the context. That's what we were talking about in Tantra, yes? To recognize the context and the intention, expression of intention in different languages, yeah? And so on. So I stop here. Art of poetry, poetic language, oratory skills, writing skills. It's all within the domain of the word. How to express oneself in the most precise manner. Well, feelings, my God, control of feelings, emotions, and so on, and physical development, very important. So I will send you this, and then you will see for yourself, and it will give you a lot of scope for thinking. Now I stop for sure.
Vladimir, are you working with anybody researching on this area? I mean,
I
a
have
study going.
one group with Bindurana. Maybe some of you know Bindurana. She was the director of YeduComp, Education and Computerization, huge, all these millennium schools in India, you know, there's 50,000 schools or something, was a big company. Now it's smaller. So she left and she built her own school, small school for children. And her group, we worked with her for 1.5 years every week. We met for 2 hours discussing how to build a new educational approach. This is the only place where we try from the ground level, from the beginning with kids, with small kids, to develop the new methodologies. Because one thing is to understand what is to be done, other is how to do it. And that is something which I don't have access yet. I understand what is to be done, to a certain extent, of course, far from final. But if you are interested to be part of this research, I'm very, very happy to welcome anyone who wants to do this on the more solid ground and look into Upanishads, texts, connect it, and start using the wisdom from the past to apply it to the future.
Would love to, Vladimir. It's like a dream.
Lovely. So you are on. I will contact you so we can discuss these things, how to proceed. Okay, any more questions? Please go ahead. Auroville, yes, in Auroville we have the whole group IPK. IPK.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask about. Yeah, IPK. I'd be very interested to hear a little bit more about that. Yeah.
Yes, this group was organized by us from the University of Human Unity from the time when we were working on this project. And then there's still this working, this Nilima, Joel, and somebody else, Snehal. You can show yourselves. Yeah. This is the group we discussed 1,000,000 times with them and with the other group. We tried to do it in our university. It didn't work out because it is maybe too much for everyone, for the students and for the professors, too much altogether. You know, they have their own program to fulfill, and then suddenly all this new thing. So you can see our team here, Joel, Snehal, and Nilima. These are this Auroville group.
Yes.
Can you say a few words before we go to the questions about what you are doing, how you did some
Yes.
kind of study in Auroville on this topic?
Well, on the basis of it, I think it's important to, you don't have to change from one day to the next. I think it can just emerge, and if you keep your mind on it, if you do what you do in that sense or sphere, then every step in the right direction is a step in the right direction. So, and if you go back, you research or you find out why it didn't work that way. But I do it in all the jobs that I do now, and sometimes it works, and it's a bit like the finger, no? Sometimes you get the lightning spark, you go like, wow, that actually worked. And then you can do it again, or you modify it a little, you improve on it, and then you keep on doing it. So that's the practical thing. But then we did, that's my personal practical thing. But then there's the things that we did, but we discussed that after, no? But this was still on the topic.
Yeah. I remember Nilima wanted to do some kind of survey and see how the educational system works in Auroville, what's new, why, what's the difficulty. How is that going on, Nilima? Did you do something on that?
Yes, we did actually. I mean, we didn't complete it yet, but there was someone else, Maya was doing it for her own master's. And I just kind of from IPK just went along with her because I'm also new to everyone here in Auroville. So it was a good place for me to interact. And we're still working on it. So we have some data that we've collected. She had to take some of it for her research, but the whole idea was also to just, that was more to do with integral education and to understand how Oroville was in every school, how are they viewing. And I think now when I again attended this, which approach are they approaching integral education from, because each person individually is approaching integral education and applying it in their school. So I think it's amazing now that I see that it's not about they seeing it differently, but it's really the approach that they're taking in their own understanding and then applying those principles and those activities of integral education in their school with their students.
Right.
So interesting that I did this now because I can use the data in that view. And apart from that, after I did that, TLC also started with a kindergarten creche. And one of the things that I've been discussing with Joel is how we can actually now work from this approach of the faculties of consciousness. And Mother so discreetly said, there's nothing you have to do with these little ones, and what is it that we can actually learn from just their beings. So I would definitely connect with you soon on that, Vladimir. So that's another place that we are working with in AV with early childhood with TLC.
Yeah, I can connect you with Bindu Rana, who is doing the school. You will benefit both from collaborating with her.
Wow.
One thing I wanted to say, this is the technology of consciousness, how consciousness functions through faculties on each of the levels. So we don't study like vital in general. We study how we see, how we feel. We study more the activities or faculties of consciousness rather than in general speaking about it and then assigning to it whatever comes. It's not that freedom. It's more concrete. It's much more concrete because of Upanishads. And there is another part which I didn't mention is the verities, the 12 qualities of the soul, which are very important for the whole holistic education. And these are sincerity, humility, and 12 qualities. All for those 4 parts of being man of knowledge, man of power, man of bliss, and man of perfection in action. If these 4 Mahashaktis are fulfilled, then we are realized being. So they are needed and they have to be part of this educational system. But at the same time, technology of consciousness is also crucial. We have to learn how we function because how this machinery works, Yeah, now I stop and open to questions if you want to say something. And Snehal, I don't know you actually. You are also part of the team now.
Hi, everyone. So hi, Vladimir. I think this is the first time me and Vladimir are seeing each other because I recently joined IPK and I'm basically a math enthusiast and my interest in mathematics and Sanskrit has brought me to IPK. And my works basically are in the area of how I want to see how mathematics works through these different domains that we talked about today. So I want to understand mathematics, arts in mathematics in arts, or and I would like to see how the language of mathematics. I would like to call it a language and not a subject, because I feel that it is, it's the language of mathematics. I want to see as a tool how it can help us build the metaphysical picture of the world, and also how it can help us psychologically,
Super.
So
super.
that's what I want to
I totally resonate immediately because I understand how deep it goes and how much it involves our faculties. the whole point is here that our faculties are assigned to these approaches, you see. So if we trigger them within ourselves, then the learning is going on. If we don't trigger them, we learn some information, it's nothing. Information can be forgotten. You know, as Sri Aurobindo says, imparting information is no education at all. So it's just, what is there? Okay, you know something, and then what? Where are you in all that? So if you are engaged, then it is, and what you're saying, the language of mathematics, this is important, yes. It is the through which you can express the truth or find the truth.
Absolutely.
This is something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, these are good ideas. Somebody else before Shailendra is coming with all his nice questions? No?
I have one slight question about the different approaches that we talked about. One is apprehensive, comprehensive, and then there is manifestation. My question is, does this come in cycles, or is there a particular order in which we have to, approach this? Do we have to be apprehensive first for our self-knowledge, or is it okay if we, can we shuffle with the order?
Yes, you can. And this is interesting. Yeah, I'm so glad that you're very good this listener. So yes, usually, as Sri Aurobindo says, usually apprehensive comes first. So you have to see the thing in order to understand what it is. Yeah? So if you don't see, how can you understand? But sometimes, and many times, the understanding comes and then the thing comes. Yeah? So not necessarily the thing comes before understanding. Not necessarily. So it is implied. Understanding, comprehension comes from from elsewhere as intuition of some kind, and then it finds its embodiment or its expression. Yeah, that's what we spoke about intention. This pashyanti vak, why we are pushed to do certain things. But there was a quest from within, hidden. Maybe we are not aware of it, of that apprehensive part. But Sri Aurobindo says, as usually, as we are constituted, apprehensive consciousness comes first. And then it's like there is a constant delay. If I see the cup, to understand that it is a cup and then there is something inside takes time. It's delayed. I already saw the cup, but what it is, I have to still take some time, yeah, because comprehension is always catching up, so to say. It is something which is not visible, which is implied, wanted, goes away in time and space. So it has to be caught. And then a manifestation is next, yes.
And then it can go back again to apprehension and comprehension of the next
Right,
level
absolutely.
and on
And
on.
they are,
Process is never
yes,
easy.
and when we say in this way, we say that it is like an order, but truly speaking, they are simultaneous. There's small
Right.
delay,
Right.
but they all must be there. Otherwise, this apprehension doesn't make any sense. Yeah, because you don't
Absolutely.
understand what you saw. So you didn't see anything. So you didn't register. Maybe you saw it technically, but consciously you didn't. So
I can absolutely relate to and understand. Actually, these lectures helped me build the mental picture that I have been trying to build for so many years and how exactly I want to take my work forward. And I think these lectures have helped me a great deal in,
amazing.
giving me next few steps. Yes.
So what is your background, Snehal? You're a mathematician or what are you?
Oh, I wish to be a mathematician, but I don't want to call myself the mathematician in a traditional way. I definitely want to see how the mathematics can be used to understand, or perceive the world around us and ourselves. And for that, I want to take help of the ancient literature, because ancient mathematics that was developed through these ancient literatures, Vedas and Upanishads had a lot of rational yet spiritual approach to it. So that definitely helps me in, so in that way you can, so my background is a software engineer. I graduated as a software engineer, but I'm also an artist. So
Nice. That's what we need. We need several kind of, combined in order to search for something higher or something truer. This is the need of the hour. We are entering into subjective age. We want to be everything. Did you notice people don't want to be something only one? Yeah, they don't want to be only professor of history or professor of mathematics. They want to be travelers. They want to be, cooking. They want to be artists, philosophers. They want to be everything. There is a need of fullness of life. By the way, achieving this, it gives us fullness, yes, and satisfaction in life.
Absolutely. Because it's, being a traveler just satisfies the certain aspect of our personality, it's not whole of us. And that's not how we were a few thousand years ago. We were astrologers, but yet we were poets. So I think we are going back to that. I feel it's not something new. I think
Yes, I also feel that we need that integration back, and that makes fullness of life. And then we will be free from this, commercial approach to our life, that first I have to earn our living, and then I will live with the resources I earned. Because while living, I am already fulfilled in activities. This is the blessing. Activities are becoming a blessing and not a curse,
I agree.
Yeah. Lovely. And we are on the same page. So nice. So, Shailendraji, would you like to?
Yeah. I don't even know where to begin. But first of all, thank you for a wonderful series of lectures and, just so thought-provoking. First of all, it would be great. I mean, you were so generous in giving me access to your electronic texts, right? Thousands of them that you had collected over the years. You're very generous in that sense, and that has stood me in good stead. Do you have a similar deck of slides that you prepared that you would like to share? Because, I feel that you're an ocean of knowledge and you're giving us little pieces here and there, a few shells that you pick out from your vast collection, pearls here and there. But have you put all those slides together? Is it possible that we can get access to your complete latest collection? I'm sure it evolves, but whatever it is as of now, is there a set of slide decks that we can get?
Definitely, I will send you whatever was here presented and all, whatever is there. Yes.
Not just this series, but others as well. You've given so many talks over the years. I think it would be great to get access to that. It's almost like a kind of your collected works. I think that'll be great. So that is one request. I'm sure I speak not only for myself, but for everybody here on this call. So that is one request. And secondly, a couple of observations. I think I was looking at your slides from yesterday, especially about Tantra and Abhinav Gupta's, 4 levels of speech, which he takes from the Rig Veda, right, from the first mandala. I thought that was very, very powerful. And the 4 levels, Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, and Vaikari. And so those certainly I had been aware of, but I wasn't quite clear about the Idanta and the Ahanta part. I know that may be too much to cover today, but if you can point us to any references, perhaps even some slides that you may have created about those, I think that would be very powerful. I'll tell you why that is of interest to me. I find an exact parallel to this in one of the most perplexing parts of the Yoga Sutras, that is the process of Sanyama, right? So as you know, in the Vibhuti Pada of the Yoga Sutras, there is perhaps the most paradoxical stuff. That is the process of Sanyama, which is, in my view, the same thing, the levels of thought being being manifested at the same time. That is Samyama being Dharana, Dhyan, and Samadhi. And as you know, that is the basis of all siddhis in the Yoga Sutras. And interestingly enough, nobody, as far as I'm aware, including Vyasa, Shankara, has properly commented on these because this is the most esoteric part. But having experienced some of those processes directly, they have to do with catching the thought before it manifests. So catching it when it is really powerful. That is when it is half manifest and half unmanifest. That is the process of Sanyama. And that's exactly what it seems to me Abhinav Gupta is trying to do with the power of speech, so to speak. So I'd love to get your thoughts. And the second question, you alluded to it in the briefest of ways. You talked about the 4 Mahashaktis, right? Again, Sri Aurobindo touches upon that again very, very briefly. I think there is some place where he says that they manifest at 4 different chakra levels, right? The Mahakali at the lowest level, then Lakshmi, then Mahasaraswati, and then and then Maheshwari, right? In that order. So anything that you would be willing to share about how those 4 Mahashaktis can be manifested, I would be most grateful. So that's a barrage of questions for you, Vladimir. But that's what occurred to me.
Thank you. Thank you for these kind of deep questions. About Yoga Sutras, I cannot answer now. Yes, I'm immediately saying I will look into it. I'm curious myself whether it is really corresponding in the way you kind of intuited. But regarding the I will look into it, definitely. I'm really curious to see and to whether that is the way it could be, even really it could be that there is some psychological processes going on and which is described in that way.
Actually, may I add something? I don't want to lose that point. I'll share something as to why I believe there is something there. Because you see, you talked about the thought behind the thought, the sight behind the sight, the hearing behind the hearing, etc., and the smell behind the smell. That is exactly the concept of tanmatras in Sankhya. Right? So just as there are 5 senses, there are 5 tanmatras. And I can tell you from personal experience that if you do sanyama on those tanmatras, the senses become powerful. And so this is what I'll share with you. 30 years ago, when I meditated on the sight tanmatra for 6 months, every day, I lost the need for spectacles. I used to wear spectacles. And for the past 30 years, I've not worn spectacles because when I meditated on the tanmatra of sight, it made the sight so powerful that, and this is this is a verifiable thing for myself, right? There was nothing spiritual, or it was very physical in some sense. So I know that this technology works. And this was a very real technology for Siddha masters like Sri Aurobindo, Vivekananda, Abhinavagupta. They derived a lot of power from being able to access the things in their subtle forms. And in a small way, I proved it to myself, by losing my spectacles, so to speak. And I've not needed it for 30 years. So, so there is something very much there. And I believe that these things can be taught to great effect.
You have to teach us. We have to really learn to do this.
Happy to share whatever I know.
Lovely. We will come back to you for this, definitely. All of us want to remove spectacles. We are ready to do whatever it takes. Yes.
Yeah, it reverses aging. It does all of those things. Yeah.
Yeah.
But love to hear your thoughts on the 4 Mahashaktis and the chakras corresponding to it.
Yes, about chakras, I'm not sure. I'm sure that it is not so simple. Chakras is a language and also the knowledge of which was formulated in full degree later. Although it is Vedic knowledge, Vedic in a sense of Navagvarishis, where the rishis of 9 rays, Sri Aurobindo says. It is translated in this way. And he says that it can be levels of consciousness or the time frame. Yeah? We spoke about this before. But and these are the chakras within the body, or levels of consciousness. Yes, Mother brought different language for it, like physical, vital, physical, mental, physical. 3 earths of the Veda. Yeah? Tisro bhumich. And then we have Trini Rajansi, 3 luminous realms of the vital. And that would be already the physical vital, vital, and mental vital, 3 vitals. Yes? These are the 3 chakras starting from Swadhisthana, Manipura, and Anahata on the torso. And finally, 3 mental chakras, 3 heavens, as in the Vedas they speak about, Tisro Dyauh, Dyavach. Yeah? And these would be the Vishuddha, Ajna, and finally the Sahasrara chakra on the level of the head. And these are, of course, levels of consciousness or rays of consciousness which Navagvarishis embody fully when they realize that, those levels, and then they become the Shagvarishis. Indra breaks through the head and brings the lightning from the Svar world, the world beyond the mind, beyond Sahasrara. And Mother speaks about 3 chakras above Sahasrara, which makes totally 12 chakras, actually. 12 chakras altogether. In Tantra, they speak about 6 or 7, yeah? And because they are the most, the closest to us to act with. Yeah? And those above and below the Muladhara, there are 2 more on the level of the knees and on the level of the feet. And that is physical and vital physical. Usually nobody goes there because there is hardly any consciousness there. So it cannot be perceived easily. Yeah? So pure physical, how can one really even perceive? But it's a level. Huh? It's a chakra in a way. Chakra in a sense is a level of consciousness which opens to that particular level. But regarding Mahashaktis are rather 4 varnas. Yeah? Maheshwari is Brahmana, the Mahakali is Kshatriya, Mahalakshmi is Vaishya, and Mahasaraswati is Shudra, the divine Shudra, perfection in action. And if you see them from this point of view as Purusha Suktam, the Purusha embodies 4 powers of the mother. And somewhere Sri Aurobindo even says that though it is known as Purusha sacrifice, it is elsewhere in the ancient tradition known as Holocaust of the Divine Mother, not only Purusha sacrifice. Why Holocaust of the Divine Mother, sacrifice of the Divine Mother? Because these 4 Mahashaktis were projected down, yes, and created seasons, so the need of knowledge, of power, of bliss, and of perfection in action. These are the 4 major needs of the soul. And in the social structure, it was organized in Varnik society, in jatis, yes, because we couldn't be all together. But in this, today we spoke about this integration of the new being, and Sri Aurobindo speaks about it in the human cycle, that we have to become Chaturvarnya, the 4 Varnik people. We have to be Brahmana in knowledge, Kshatriya in power, Vaishya in delight, and Shudra in service. Yeah? They have to be harmonized, and this is the realization of the universal Purusha in the individual frame. This is that integration. Once it is done, we become totally integral. There is nothing else to integrate. And we see that these varnas are in other societies are also present, in Greek society, in ancient Roman Empire, in every society, in modern society. We have teachers, yes, priests and teachers on one side, Brahmanas. We don't call them Brahmanas. We have the military and the kshatriyas everywhere. Yes, it's a need of the soul, or the need of in money, and we need traders and traffickers and exchanging people and creative people, vaishyas, and we need people of service, workers. Yeah, and all of these are there. Only we don't name them that way. And by the way, it's quite interesting because Svadharmic thinking, for example, my soul came here and it has a certain purpose or meaning to develop. So to say, I want to develop certain qualities of the soul. Suppose I want to develop some part of knowledge or some part of power, to be a leader, to lead others, to be a hero of my age. Yes, it's a need of the soul. So I find my profession which fits, even if I am in the wrong profession. Suppose I am a teacher, but I have a need to develop a hero, I become a hero teacher. So I lead my students in a heroic way. I express those elements which I am seeking in my life. It's amazing to see that the need of the soul is actually the major thing, and the profession is a secondary. It's where I happen to be, but I may be in totally wrong place. That's why we have so many different teachers with different needs. Yeah. Some are there to serve, some are there to lead, some are there to discover. Yes, Shalend.
Yes, if you're not following the need of the soul, you feel quite dislocated and insecure.
Or you follow it and you become a unique teacher in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vladimir, Aurobindo, this is, in my view, one of the most striking aspects of Sri Aurobindo's thought. That is a totally new interpretation of the Purusha Sukta, right? That is, it is a measure of the human's fall, that he or she is partial and not integral, right? And in fact, the Varna theory should be reversed, that all four Varnas should be represented in every individual at all times, of course, in different proportions. That's the whole point. But from what I could tell, Sri Aurobindo wrote only a few pages about this in his entire collected works that I could find. Maybe 2 references about the integrality of the Varnas in an individual. Is there something more that you were able to find that people have written about
human
this?
cycle? The human
Just a paragraph.
cycle,
I just found a paragraph or two about
there are
this.
2 paragraphs there, you are right. In the letters he may explain this, and in the Foundations of India. I will look for it, for these Varnik. I have all his quotations. I have the whole text for this. Maybe I will attach the file for this, what I have on these Varnas. And also the work of the mother is the most important work, which all these you can read about Mahashaktis one by one, starting from Maheshwari, ending with Mahasaraswati. Each paragraph is dedicated to this. It's the most profound work, actually, of Sri Aurobindo. The Mother is called. Yeah. I will look for more references. I would be myself interested to see. And of course, the Gita, you can see in the Gita also, I was mentioning today, the question of Arjuna, why do you mix jatis? Yes. And the answer is so unexpected. It's not immediately there, it's later, that now everyone in his heart, even Shudras, even women and Shudras, he says, can find me, the Supreme. So this is the answer to why he mixes Varnas, because everyone has to become Chaturvarnya. That's how I interpret it. Varnas are no more important in that sense as a distribution of knowledge in the society. Now there will be an individual search for the truth. And it corresponds to that Kali Yuga time, yes, which becomes more and more subjective age. Yeah. All right, so lovely. Thank you for these beautiful kind of insights. I'm really looking forward to this, to learn about Tanmatras. This would be an amazing thing to learn. I heard this from you before, but I kind of forgot about it. Now you reminded me about this, and this is amazing to try out to use the knowledge of Sankhya in that way psychologically, and to improve one's own functionality of faculties. Yeah. So we came to the end of the whole series. Of course, that last was jammed all with the faculties and development and new approaches, but we can think of applying this knowledge, how to apply it. Yeah, maybe some other modalities like Shailendra brought Tanmatras. It's an application of ancient knowledge. Yes. To improve one's health and functionality of consciousness, even physically, not to say mentally. Mentally also it improves the vision. Yeah, you can see clearly the concepts, the structures, and so on. So we can think what else we can offer for this development of human beings, and make the whole maybe a blog or something where we could share these ideas and thoughts. See how we can proceed. So I will leave this with James. Yes, James?
Yeah,
James.
it's been a really, the 6 sessions have been immense for me, actually, because it feels such a vast lacuna in my knowledge. You know, it's been really quite beautiful to experience these 6 sessions, and thank you very much, Vladimir.
Thank you.
Just to let you know that I'll be circulating a feedback form, so please fill it in. We'd love to know what you think about these sessions. And I'd be a great joy and an honor to work with you again, Vladimir, if you're open to that.
Yes.
But yeah, it's been great. So thank you. Thank you.
Lovely. Lovely. Thank you, everyone. And it was a pleasure to be with you all. Really a great pleasure.
Yeah.
Upliftment
Thank
of
you
the
so much.
spirit, you know, kind of you feel that you are not alone, that we are all looking for the truth and knowledge.
And
this
to
is so
apply it,
beautiful.
yes. Yeah.
I always feel
I
joyful, hopeful after any of your seminars, Vladimir. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Susan.
Yeah, I would like to share something with James and Vladimir sir's permission.
Okay.
Yeah, so this session began on my birthday. Actually, 19th September was my birthday, and I was so enlightened to attend this. Thank you to James. He keeps sending me the messages about all the courses that has been happening. So I thought, let's join this. I heard Dr. Vladimir's sessions, the webinars that La Grace Center organizes, and everything is very delightful and enlightening for me. I am very new to this journey. Not, I mean, many things are very new to me. I'm still not able to, understand everything, but just trying bits and pieces here and there, where whatever I could, gain and try to understand Mother and Sri Aurobindo's philosophy. So yeah, that's all. And I'm immensely thankful to the entire team. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Pravita. Thank you.
Namaste.
So we'll wrap it up. Yeah. So thank you, Vladimir. And thank you,
Right.
everyone
I will
else.
close with a short mantra.
Thank you,
if you
everyone.
don't mind. Yeah.
Thank you everyone
Yes.
for
Well,
participating and making this workshop program so meaningful.
yes.
Dialogue
Thank
was
you.
very, very useful, interactive. Yeah.
Om. I will close with mantra.
Yeah.
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.
James, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, James, from the entire team. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Yeah. See you again later, Suzanne.
See you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.